15 commandos martyred. So these are the fatalities now that are being confirmed here. Mandar Fanse, who's been tracking those inputs here. Mandar, unfortunate loss of life. All 15 commandos caught in that now, we're given to understand, have been martyred in this attack.
Rightly so, as looking at the blast and looking at the kind of enormity of the IED blast which has taken place, it is hardly any chance that anybody would survive in such kind of a blast, especially when this blast has happened in the backdrop of some 36 vehicles which were tossed, especially these vehicles, and the machinery was involved into the road construction in this particular area adjacent to the Chhattisgarh. This is the area in Gadchiroli which is densely forested, and especially Maoist track and kind of a raid corridor right from down south towards the Chhattisgarh, and therefore this happens to be a very important area as far as the Maoists are concerned, and these people were being basically opposed to construct this particular road. And at that backdrop, where that attack has happened, possibly this QRT team of these 15 commandos must have approached to this area, and while returning from that area, this attack has been planned, and that is how the 15 commandos have lost their lives, and now what we learn is even the driver, who happens to be also not from the forces, but he was also having his own private vehicle, and this private vehicle was blown off by these Maoists in these particular areas of Korchi in Gadchiroli, adjacent to Chhattisgarh.
Right. Stay on with us, Mandar. We're also getting in further inputs from our colleague, correspondent Arunil, with those details on what more is known of this attack here. Arunil, please go ahead.
Mr. Sharat Salar, the IG of Anti-National Operations, he has confirmed this, saying that 15 of our commandos have been martyred. One driver who was independently having his own vehicle, his vehicle has also been torched up. He's also lost his life. And this incident happened in the heartland of Naxal areas in Gadchiroli, on the road which basically connects Kurkheda to Korchi. In this locality, this incident happened. We also get to know that there were around 150 Naxals who were present in this area, 150 Maoists who have been present in this area. So this is a Naxal heartland. In fact, last year, this particular commando team, the C-60 commando team, had targeted 40 Maoists, and they had gunned down 40 Maoists last year in April. And now, after a year, this is a major attack from the Naxals on security personnel. Today is also the Maharashtra Day, and it can also be seen as an agitation against the Maharashtra Day as well. In the morning also we saw wherein around 37 vehicles were torched up, and now this is a second such attack within a day itself. 15 of our commanders have been martyred. One driver has also lost his life. Back to you.
Arunil, stay on with us, please, because we're playing out these breaking inputs coming in with respect to what essentially has taken place through the day. Earlier today, there was an arson attack. This was on torching about 20 vehicles which were involved in the process of road construction there. After that arson attack, this IED blast that has taken place in Gadchiroli, this has been a huge blast wherein which all 15 commandos there caught in the crosshair have been martyred. Unfortunately, these are the fatalities now, the numbers that are coming in there in the wake of that IED blast. Arunil, you're saying, of course, this is also keeping in mind that should be seen as a huge protest as far as the Naxals there are concerned. In doing this at a time when Maharashtra is marking a special day, but unfortunately it has been building up since morning. One, that you get the reports of an arson attack, and second, the IED blast.
Well, exactly, and it can also be seen as a desperate attempt from the Maoists. Remember, during the election process as well, on the election day itself, 2 days before the elections as well, there were attacks in Gadchiroli, which is a Naxal-infested area. However, our authorities were able to conduct a conduct the election in this Naxal region, and now we can see that this can be called as a countermeasure from the Maoists in Gadchiroli. And in the morning also, the vehicles which were basically engaged in construction of road in that area was torched up. So clearly, these Naxals are against any development activity. They are clearly against any administration or election process in their area. In the morning, they torched up the vehicles which was supposed to construct the road in that area. They had also put up posters throughout the district against the administration, against the government. And now within 2 hours, the reports come in wherein 15 of our commandos have been martyred in a dastardly attack in which a tunnel was made on the road, and through which the vehicles of the commando were torched up. One other person has also lost his life. So basically, this can be seen as a desperate measure from the Naxals to prove their presence after a safe election was conducted in the Naxal-infected zone. Back to you.
That's right. Recently concluded safe elections having taken place in the zone. Stay on with us, please, Arunil. Getting in a word here, when he's senior voice with us, former DG CRPF, Mr. Dilip Trivedi, with us on the phone line. Appreciate you being with us. This is coming in on a shocking note, given the fact, the nature of this blast that has taken place, and 15 of our commandos having been martyred in that.
Definitely, it is a shocking news for something like this to happen. And from what one has been able to gather through the television news, it seems that the IEDs had been laid much in advance under the road, and when the convoy was passing, they blew it up. So, but that has been the traditional way of working of the Maoists in any case in these areas. So, but to lose 15 people is really shocking, yes.
That's right. And as you say that, Mr. Trivedi, in the same breath, that this has been their modus operandi. It is well known how they go about in carrying an attack, and yet we continue to face these nature of losses on our forces.
Yes, you see, the only way to avoid this situation is, one, not to travel in a convoy on these kind of roads, and also to avoid the roads, if possible, by taking other side roads or something, because you see, the Maoists plan much in advance for these kind of things. So we'll have to, or even use of motorcycles. I mean, there's no, for a long time, we had stopped using vehicles inside these areas. But again, maybe the lull in the activities of the Maoist has again tempted the police people to start using vehicles, which has led to this.
Okay, that of course coming in from your understanding on why you think that we once again have been caught vulnerable in the wake of yet another Maoist attack. But Mr. Trivedi, given the fact that this is a stage of high security that we're looking at, the country going through general elections, in the previous phase, these are areas where elections have taken place successfully without any untoward incident of this scale. And yet, following those elections, a couple of days later today, you see an attack of this nature.
The point I was trying to make, you see, once you go through a difficult phase and you do it successfully, there tends to be some level of complacency, which in turn leads to these kind of attacks or falling into this kind of a trap, I would say, by the security forces. Now, no doubt it has been a big achievement to conduct the elections very peacefully and successfully. But after that, there should have been no room for complacency. That is the point I was trying to make.
Mr. Trivedi, stay on with us, please, if you can, because we're trying to get in more voices, more views on this, unfortunately, how an attack of this scale actually was possible to take place. We have... Let's get in a word here. We have Minister of the State in Maharashtra, Mr. Sudhir Mungantiwar, with us on the phone line. Thank you for being with us. This is a huge loss, unfortunately, that we are looking at. Once again, you have our commandos absolutely caught vulnerable, caught in the vehicle here, and altogether you have 15 fatalities. Okay, we're going to be reconnecting with the minister in just a bit. Let's also get in a voice of a defense expert, Shivali Deshpande, with us over the phone line. Thank you for being with us. Your first reaction on this attack, so soon after the elections having successfully been conducted in the given areas there, you have an attack taking place of this scale.
Like, this is indeed very, very unfortunate that when the country is undergoing general elections, this kind of IED explosion happening. And that's why in a Naxalite area like Gadchiroli, where 15 of our commandos have been martyred. Condolences to their families, and I'm very sure that these commandos would have been very, very brave. But you see, the country already had an intel that these kind of incidents might happen, especially after Lanka. And we were all very, very upright. But then this kind of IED blast in which we were caught unaware is very, very unfortunate. It's basically done to scare the people. And this is basically done to show to the government that there is always an instrument of people which does not want to participate in democracy. And this is exactly the manner in which these Naxalites.
Yes, apologize for the interruption. Please stay on with us. We're trying to get in a word here from the Maharashtra State Minister, Mr. Sudhir Mungantiwar, with us over the phone line. Thank you for being with us. Help us understand, how did this attack take place 2 hours before an arson attack, a clear indicator that they're operative in that area, and later you have an IED blast of this scale? Seem to have been disconnected once again, having been disconnected there. We're trying to get in a word directly from the Minister of the State there in Maharashtra, Sudhir Mungantiwar, but we're unable to. Twice the line that has been cut and disconnected. Let's also get in our senior editor, Mandar Fanse, who's of course been tracking these inputs here. Mandar, given the fact that the IED blast, wherein which we've lost 15 soldiers here, it took place in the same area, 2 hours, close to 2 hours of what we've been reporting here, after the arson attack, again in the same area of Gadchiroli. It was evident that you have Naxals operating there with that arson attack, following which the IED blast took place, and yet there were no signs of an alarm.
Unfortunately, the situation is such in these areas is very precarious, and at that backdrop, especially the SOPs are very, very vital, especially when it comes to the counter attacks and the QRT response, especially while there is a recent history of some kind of torching of vehicles, they need to have been little more careful about that thing also. It must have been some way or the other way planned by the Maoists that they would be tempted into getting into such kind of a vehicle travel after this particular QRT response by these particular commandos, especially when it comes to these areas when newly done up roads are there. It is even more riskier thing, because remember, wherever all these such IED blasts have happened, all these blasts have happened in the newly constructed roads itself. So it is even more dangerous while traveling on these roads. As Mr. Trivedi just now has told, that they should have avoided this kind of a mode of transport,
right.
and this is what is the major mistake possibly they have committed, and that's why the Maoists have been able to conduct this kind of a
let's also
attack.
Mandar, stay with us. Let's also get in a word here from Mr. Maruf Raza, security expert, with us over the phone line. Thanks for being with us, Mr. Raza. Are you shocked? Are you surprised with this nature of attack having taken place here in Gadchiroli this time of the year?
No, I'm neither shocked nor surprised. The reason is that these kind of attacks are not new, neither are they completely unpredictable in these areas for a variety of reasons. Firstly, the Maoists have been very keen to get back into the narrative and reckoning, particularly at the time of elections, when the national attention is on a lot of other issues. And when political parties have been anyway talking about security as one of the key issues that they wish to address in their own ways post the elections. The second thing is that there is a standard operating procedure, and if it is followed diligently, then these kind of accidents and mishaps don't take place. But experience has shown, at least over the last 15 years or more, if those procedures are short-shifted on, or if the leadership is not on top of the situation, which is mostly the case in Maoist areas, where bulk of the security activities are left to the CRPF, which doesn't have enough senior police officers willing to understand or put their neck out and take stock of the situation, and they leave it to junior leaders who are ill-trained and ill-briefed. And the third and most important thing is that we have not been able to convince both the states in which these Maoists operate. At the same time, there is a very little coordination between the center and the state into scaling up with technology the prevention of such mishaps, such as use of aerial photography, aerial reconnaissance, use of drones, use of helicopters to support operations. And
Right.
I'm not talking of helicopters in offensive role, but in support of people who move around through road opening and other information, and the engagement with the locals to be on top of any secessionist activities and just waiting for a mishap to happen. So I'm not entirely surprised, and I think this is repeatedly a warning to us that we need to get our act together.
That's right. And given that it is well established, their modus operandi each time it happens in an area where new construction of roads is taking place. And once again, it has happened exactly the same here. It's almost predictable how a Naxal attack here comes about.